Good day, everybody. I'm Steve, and I'm going to be your host tonight for the Jersey Nerd Podcast. Today I have with me our fellow writers. How you doing today?
Doing great, Steve. Relaxing in my Miroslav Shatan Buffalo Sabres, let's say 2002, 2003. Alternate jersey, beautiful jersey. Always fun walking around with the name Satan on your back. You know what? Ready to talk about some great things. We got a fun little podcast tonight. Stay tuned.
Oh, good to hear. Good to hear. Always fun to have that and then scare the old ladies, you know. So, and we also have Bpoe. Bpoe, how's it going on your side of Pittsburgh?
Just recording a podcast, not Ryan, in my new Indo Edge Authentic New York Rangers alternate jersey, and it's the only authentic Edge jersey that I own, actually. How about you, not Ryan?
Not too bad. Just moved into my new house, still unpacking. Crap is everywhere, and I'm about to pull my hair out over all of it. But, so today, we're going to get into about two subjects here, so let's get into the first one. The NHL just unleashed the Heritage Classic logo. This logo is going to be for the game played in Regina, Saskatchewan, and it is going against the Calgary Flames and the Wings. Now, first impressions, it fits in, well, to me it looks like it fits in with the previous logos, but it's not a direct copy. Now, on the positives right away, Shawn, what are your opinions on that?
I'm glad they finally modernized, let's say modernized, if not simplified, the Heritage Classic template we had seen from the past three games. They've gone away from the big red maple leaf with the thick veins and the shield with the two hockey sticks and a center sort of mural of the host city. No, now we get a very simple by comparison, I will say, just sort of circle with almost like a leather belt around it, some wheat, and then a banner. Yeah, you know what? This is something I can really get behind. I do think, though, that the biggest thing is that they chose green. You know, I mean, we are talking about Saskatchewan here. This is a place that prides itself on green being their color. So it's nice to see that made it in the same way that in the previous NHL Winter Classic, we got that green noted for Notre Dame. So, no, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. And, Bpoe, what are some positives that you think you would take away from this?
I definitely have to agree with Shawn in that I really like the sort of updating that they've done to this logo and the template, rather than kind of going with the maple leaf surrounded by the shield. The shield surrounded by the maple leaf. They instead kind of did a maple leaf here surrounded by a shield of sorts. And it works a lot better having the Heritage Classic script inside of the leaf, I think. And I think the circle frames it really well and keeps it from being too simple as just a maple leaf. And they kept, the similar themes with the leaf and the sticks and everything like that. And I just noticed not too long ago, too, the wheat stalk or whatever that is in the bottom of the circle. It's so subtle that it doesn't pop out at you, but it's there and you notice it. I really like that detail about it. And I think the color palette looks gorgeous. Maybe they could have replaced the gold in the leaf with... Actually, no, never mind, because I see... For some reason, I was thinking that they didn't have that gold anywhere else, but now it stands out a bit differently in the red than it does against the cream. So never mind.
It almost has a yellow on white effect, if you think. But we can get to that in the negatives. But I think it's a good update. It's simplified. It's not templated like they've had before, and it wasn't a bad thing that they had it templated, but it was becoming old fast, and it was becoming like, well, how can you modify that anymore? And I think they did a good job. They put in some subtle hints to represent Regina, like the wheat in the symbol there, but keeping and we've touched on it before, like with the draft logo and with the Winter Classic logo. They always have one part of the logo that stays consistent, but it's always changed up to where it looks different and unique, but it still ties together with the overall event. So I think they did good there. But now, Shawn, do you have any negatives on this or anything that you would change?
You know what? I will say, and this is something that might not be on the actual jerseys. I think that little bar at the bottom, despite my absolute disdain for this establishment, I'm going to keep that out of this podcast. I just think that the logo would look so much better if they had integrated the sponsorship for a certain Canadian coffee chain a little better into the roundness of the logo. I think that it's really distracting as is. It takes away from it overall. The fact that it's a slightly different shade of off-white cream is it's just off-putting to me. And it detracts from what could be, honestly, one of the best, one of the candidates for best event logo of the decade, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. The main issue that I'd have would be that it kind of feels like an afterthought, or like they forgot about it, so they kind of tried just to put their best effort towards it, but it just, you can so tell it's out of place. But Bpoe, do you have any other negatives that you think about this?
Not really. I have to completely agree with you guys on the sponsorship. I mean, the only other way I could think to have integrated it better, at least with having it kind of below the logo, is to just kind of curve the outside like a circle, rather than just have it as that rounded rectangle. And I mean, if you look back at the other Heritage Classic logos, that's exactly how they handled the sponsorship on the other ones. So it's not like it's completely unprecedented, but that doesn't really make it look any better at all. I don't really know how they could have incorporated it better into the logo itself, but I can tell you for sure that the unsponsored logo looks much better than this version, because I mean, they're going to have a non-sponsored logo for the jersey patch. They always do.
That they do, and that's possible. This is why they did it the way they did it, is just to make it easier to get rid of. But once again, it just feels like an afterthought. And also, going back to how you said that the gold looks different on the cream than it does within the maple leaf. So it kind of feels like it has that red or that yellow on white effect going on with it. But other than that, compared to the previous events, Shawn, how would you say this is? Was this improvement on the logo itself overall? Was it a downgrade? Was it just like a lateral move? How would you rate it?
I'd say this is a vast improvement over the previous ones. That isn't to say that in their time, the previous ones weren't fantastic. I'd say the same thing about every one of them going back to 2010, 2011. It's an improvement over the last one. They made the necessary adjustments that they needed to. It looks great. It matches the event, and any jersey that is going to feature this logo is going to look better because of it.
Bpoe, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I like the other Heritage Classic logos for sure, but I think this one just takes it a step up.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree with you all. I think it's the simplicity that really, just how they simplified it, but at the same time it has it has everything that needs to be there, but it's not over the top like the previous ones were. So I think it's it. Overall, on a number scale, Shawn, where are you giving it out of 10?
I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. I think that, honestly, once you take away the sponsorship, it's a 10. I'll give it that perfect rating, but with the sponsorship, just down a little bit. So let's say 9 until I've seen the unsponsored logo.
Okay. Bpoe?
I think I'm going to have to agree on a 9 with this one.
Okay. And I'm going to have to give it a 9 as well. So that's going to be an overall 9
We'll come back to you in 5
score.
minutes once you finish calculating the average there. I'm sure that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah,
got a lot of numbers to crunch.
That's a real tough one. It's a 9 overall. So
let's see, 9 plus 9 plus 9 equals 27 divided by 3. That's 9.
Yeah. So overall, folks, we have a 9 out of 10 on this logo. That is a pretty solid logo there. I think, I see that the NHL they're killing it pretty well with most of their event logos here when it comes to the outdoor games. So, but getting on to our other subject tonight. Recently, for those of you who follow the AHL, the Tucson Roadrunners, they have revealed that next year they're going to go out and use a Kachina-style alternate jersey. This includes a custom Kachina-style logo that they've created that is based off of what looks like Coyotes, as well as a 90s style Tucson, Arizona patch on the one side of the shoulder, as well as the old Phoenix Coyote head logo on the other side. Now, to show, it has a red yoke with a white outline. It also has its own unique Kachina pattern, and it has what looks like purple, both a hem bottom and extended cuffs. So, Bpoe, what are your initial thoughts on this?
I really like it. I think it is a good way to granted, it is kind of just piggybacking off the success of the Coyotes Kachina, but I think that they change it up enough for it to be creative enough to not be unoriginal. It's not a direct copy of the Coyotes Kachina jerseys and a color swap. It's different enough that it does stand out on its own, especially with their own pattern and the purple and the different logo. I think it works pretty well. There's some things that I would change about it, but I think that we'll be getting into that in the negatives. And I also really like that they used the old Coyotes head logo on the shoulder rather than the current one, as AHL teams usually do. I think it just helps tie in the theme of the jersey together and not have that logo stand out.
Yeah. And Shawn, what are your positives about this? I know you're not a big fan of the Kachina jersey. I know that. So.
Oh, I loathe the Kachina jersey. Just kidding. I love the Kachina jersey. Absolutely love it, and this is no exception. Biggest thing that I appreciate about it, it's a different Kachina pattern. There's going to be a reason that Arizona uses one pattern and Tucson uses another, but this is a different pattern, so it's their own thing. I like that everything on here is an homage to the Kachina era jerseys, but is its own thing. The shoulder patch with the Tucson is unique. It's new. It's not what the Coyotes Kachina jerseys actually wore. It's their current ones in the Kachina style. Looks fantastic. The primary logo looks as good as you could make this idea look. I like that the pose is actually just the regular Roadrunners pose, done in that style. The fact that the half mask face is green, subtle detail. The jersey purple. This is all just very subtle stuff, but it really works. Bpoe mentioned the attention to detail in the Major League shoulder patch, and just overall, aside from one thing, and I think we're all going to repeat what that one thing is. Really solid stuff here from Tucson.
Yeah, and overall, I have to agree with you guys. I really like that we want to make our own Kachina jersey. We don't want to copy necessarily what you're doing, but we want to make our own version with our own logo, our own pattern, our own color styling, and to follow through with using the original Coyotes logo on it. That's great. To take a current logo that they have and put it in the Kachina style, amazing. And just the fact that they've gone about it, and instead of doing what a lot of teams do, like the Baby Penguins, where they just copy what the adult team is doing, they took it a step further. They made it their own, and it's a homage to their parent team, but at the same time, it's their own thing, and I like that overall. Now, getting to the other spectrum of it, the negatives, Bpoe, what is something that immediately stands out to you that you do not like?
The red shoulder yoke. I don't like the green shoulder yoke on the Coyotes Kachina jersey, and I don't think it works any better here, having this one being in red. It just completely throws off the color balance, having it the opposite color as to what's on the hems and the arms. I would say either make it, in this case, make it purple or drop it entirely. And also, another thing that doesn't really work at all for me is the red helmet, and it's a little bit hard to tell, but if you look on their Twitter, there seems to be a GIF that shows parts of the entire uniform, and you can see in one of the shots they appear to be wearing plain red socks. I don't know if that was just for the photo shoot, or if there's something that, like, if there's a design on the bottom that's cut off. But if the socks are mostly red, that's going to look way out of place on a completely black uniform otherwise. So I would have to say the yoke and the equipment until further notice.
Okay. Shawn, what is it that you don't like about this jersey?
Same thing what Bpoe said. Identical right down to the fact that it's a problem that exists on the regular Kachina black jersey, but is amplified tenfold here because, at least on the Kachina black jersey, the idea being is that, the collar itself is a Kachina stripe and it goes down and there's still some maroon in the outline of a very thick outline of the yoke, and it kind of works, I guess. But my problem with that is that there's no purple in the yoke. The way to have done this, I think, would have been, if you really had to use the maroon yoke, you would have had to have made the collar beige and a very thick yoke outline purple. That would have been the way to do it. You didn't do that, unfortunately, due to quick light, not allowing you really to do that or whatever. But yeah, that's my solution there. Your other option is just to make the jersey. And while it would take away from this, you would get rid of the purple cuffs and leave it as is, and you'd have that pattern. But I would actually have preferred, my fix for this would have been a purple yoke with a dual outline, with the outer one being purple and the inner one being beige, and then obviously a black helmet. But I guess it works. I don't think it kills it per se. It really just, like, if I look at it one way, it looks fine. I look at another, it looks terrible. If I cover up half the jersey, it looks okay. But if I cover the other half, it looks fine. I'm torn on it. I don't want this to ruin the jersey, but would it affect me from purchasing it? I certainly think it would.
Yeah, I do have a few issues with it. I really don't like the purple for the cuffs and the hem. I just feel that it's out of place. Now, I do like that they use a purple jersey for the Roadrunner, kind of like an homage to the original Roadrunners team in that style, but I don't like how they used it for the ends here. I think they could have used something a lot different, like possibly the green or possibly the red. I am not a fan of how the yoke is just a traditional yoke instead of how they had it in the 90s where it was at a point, but it was still rounded. I am just, every time I see the quick light collar, I get more and more annoyed by it because I see its flaws on being able to do multi-striping. Because I see what Adidas did. Adidas was somehow able to create it to where you could do a secondary color on it, and it looks good. This, on the other hand, this collar is just so thick that it feels unusual. And I don't know any type of striping that would be good on it, other than probably adding that pattern in on the inside and doing something similar to what the Coyotes have for that. But I'd have to agree with you. I'm kind of like torn on whether would I spend the money on this just because of what decisions they made for it. even though I love the fact that it's a Kachina jersey, but their own Kachina jersey is really there. So bringing all of that together, guys, compared to the original Kachina jersey here, let's just say just the jersey. Exclude the primary logo, exclude it. How would you say the design of this one compares to the original Kachina? Bpoe?
The original Kachina is much better because even though they have that problem with the shoulder yoke on the original Kachina, it's not nearly as pronounced because the green doesn't stand out from the black as much as the red does here. And while, unlike Steve, I do like the use of purple here, the red shoulder yoke just doesn't work as well as the green one does. And again, I don't like the green shoulder yoke on the original Kachina, but the red one just stands out too much compared to the green.
Shawn?
It's not nearly as iconic, and I think that's the biggest problem with it. And, it feels like it's a minor league version of the original. The original, I think, honestly, was lightning in a bottle, and I don't think they even knew what they had in it when they made it. I don't think they intended it on being nearly as iconic as it was. And while over the years people have found many a way to integrate Kachina into a Coyotes jersey that's a lot subtler and a lot better. Honestly, the Coyotes current set is a fantastic example of this. This is an example of how you can't just slap Kachina on a jersey and expect it to have that same charm that the original did.
In a way, I'd have to agree with you guys. I think that the original Kachina is superior. In a way, we're comparing it to the original, and you're trying to mix up from the original, and me being around in the time when they constantly wore those, when they had the Desert Scape, and I still think that the Kachina design I'd love to see back as a full-time, not necessarily the logo itself, but the Kachina pattern somewhere on the jersey, yes. Now, as for this, I feel like Shawn said, they just tried to put their own spin on it, and they weren't able to execute as well as Arizona has. I feel like they were there, they were close, but some of the design executions were just poor and missed. And that's what helped, and that's what made it suffer. So, giving that overall, what is your score here, Bpoe, out of 10?
I give the current jersey and uniform as it is a 7 out of 10. I give the idea a 10 out of 10 because it's much better than just copying the parent franchise. It's much better to just kind of make subtle homages to it or to them and use their style, but not exactly. And if they made some of the changes that I mentioned, as in removing the yoke and changing some of the equipment, I would probably give the set a 9 out of 10.
All right, Shawn?
I think Bpoe nailed it. There's some minor changes you have to make to this to make it as good as the original. But as is, you know what? I'll say the logos and the idea are a 9. The jersey itself is probably a 6.5, so I'm going to average this out to 7.5.
All right, and I'm just going to have to give it a 7. I think overall the logos were well thought out, and the decisions of what to put on the jersey was well thought out. The Kachina design was well thought out, but I think everything else was kind of an afterthought. So I think if they did change some things around, or maybe made it a little less templated like the Kachina, but still kept some of the elements on it to make you look at it and say, oh yeah, that looks like the Coyotes jerseys from the 90s. I think they would have succeeded highly, so I'm going to give it a 7 here. So that gives it out to a 7.16. So we're just going to give them a 7. So overall, these jerseys get a 7. not bad, not good. They're about average, so. But that is everything we have for the Jersey Nerd podcast today. Currently, gentlemen, what is the current competition that we have going on here?
We are finishing up the Quebec Nordiques unused logo. That runs until March 22nd, so be sure to get your entries in on that one. And then starting March 22nd, as the voting phase starts for the unused Quebec Nordiques logo competition, we will be doing what I believe is a Vancouver Canucks redesign competition. And that will run for 2 weeks, starting on March 22nd. So stay tuned for that. Contest rules will be up.
March 22nd is San Jose Sharks.
I was going to say, I thought
Thank
it
you,
was
San Jose Sharks.
I thought it was San Jose Sharks there. You're giving away all our competitions, all our future competitions here, man.
No, wait, no, we're not giving it away. We did a Vancouver Canucks one. It's the San Jose Sharks. Okay, so starting March 22nd.
It's the Tiburon logo now.
It's the San Jose Sharks featuring Los Tiburon. You can find all the rules. We've just given a rule away on the blog on March 22nd when the contest page flips over. So later this week, be sure to get those votes in for the Quebec Nordiques unused logo competition. Get your entries in if you plan on entering. And start thinking of ways to use the Tiburon logo properly, because there are a lot of different ways to do it right.
All right.
Also going on the blog, our beautiful Jersey Casual line, always available on Redbubble. We always sell stickers. You can find all of that in the beautiful heading above.
Speaking of Jersey Casual, we actually do have some new designs there. We finally have the Quebec Nordiques design up. After much protest from Jets there, we have a special edition of the Centennial Classic designs. It's 6 designs on 1 design there, so it's all 6 of them instead of just having all 6 individually. So you could take a look at that. You can get it as a poster, you can get it as a sticker. We also have some more current uniforms on there. And I believe that's mainly what has gone on so far, as well as doing, for some reason, the 2000 All-Star jerseys, because I was begged by someone to do that. So, but we have.
Steve, are you aware that your Quebec Nordiques Jersey Casual design is marked on Redbubble as mature content?
Seriously?
Yeah, I just went there and I think one of them is mature content.
Hey, none of you kids are supposed to. What are we doing? Kids, if you're under 18, you're not allowed to buy our raunchy, adults-only Quebec Nordiques shirts. Only for the hottest girls and the biggest studs. By the way, anybody of a certain age is going to remember... You're gonna remember
you know why it's mature content? We should put that, and we should put the Montreal Canadiens just for the bloodiest fight ever. That's the only reason why it's mature content. They had the bloodiest fight.
Only one. That's the only one of the whole Jersey Casual.
I have no clue why it's put as mature content, but I will get that changed. So.
Ooh. Oh, wow!
So yeah, if any of you guys go to the Jersey Casual page and you see one that says mature content, it's not mature content. It's just a Quebec Nordiques jersey. But granted, the guy is not wearing pants. However, none of the other ones include pants either. So.
And no one has actually argued with me yet over the fact that he is not wearing pants. So,
I thought that was the entire point, though.
Yes, it is the entire point, and people who've bought them have gotten that. So, but if you want to see any particular designs, some of the guys have asked me for particular designs, and I've caved to them. One design that I cannot do, though, which I've been asked about before, is the Wild Wing design. I wanted to clear that up because I've had someone asking me twice. No, the Turd Burger will not be back. That was around for only a certain amount of time. That will not be back. So
Ryan won't allow it. We're all
Yeah.
fired. He sees that on the shop again. And Phil says we will all meet a swift end at the Islanders' apocalypse if we ever see that Black Islanders alternate up on the red bubble. So none of that, all you fans of my wonderful jersey taste.
even though secretly Shawn is crying over it. But all right, everybody, that was the Jersey Nerd podcast. Be on the lookout for Fake or Authentic and Throwback Throwdown later on in the week. Ryan should be back on here. Unfortunately, tonight he could not make it, so that's why we were filling in for him. So, Sean, Bpoe, thank you so much. Any last words?
You're welcome, not Ryan.
Any last words or Bubba Booies?
Baba Booey, Baba Booey. Baba Booey.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening in, and you all have a good rest of your week.
Dun, dun, dun.